There are mornings when you wake up and quietly ask yourself, what am I actually living for? Not in despair, just quietly. The way a question can sit inside you for years, waiting for a morning silent enough to finally be heard. You go to work, you come home, you eat, you sleep, you try to be kind, you try to be responsible. But there is a certain emptiness, hard to name, slowly growing in your chest. You are not sad. You are not missing anything in particular, but you also don't really know where you are going. And there is a book written by a man who survived the darkest place in human history that can offer you an answer few people will ever dare to say out loud. Happiness is not the thing you should be chasing. Meaning is. The book is called Man's Search for Meaning. The author is Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist of Jewish heritage. In 1942, he was taken into a Nazi concentration camp. For 3 years in a row, he survived 4 different camps, including Auschwitz, where his father, mother, wife, and brother all died. He lost everything: family, career. The manuscript of the book he had spent years writing. He was stripped of his clothes, his name, and even the right to be called a human being. But there was one thing they could never take from him, and that one thing changed his life forever, and changed the way the whole world understands the human spirit. In one moment, in the middle of hunger, cold, and death waiting in every corner of the room, he realized something astonishingly simple. People can strip away everything from you, but no one can strip away your last freedom, the freedom to choose the attitude with which you respond to your circumstances. This is the line Frankl wrote after he came back, a line that millions of people have read over and over in the longest nights of their lives. Between a stimulus and your response, there is a space. In that space is the power and the freedom to choose. And your choice, not your circumstance, is what ultimately decides who you become. Inside the camp, Frankl saw 2 very different kinds of people. There were strong, healthy, young men with good builds, and they collapsed very quickly. And there were thin, exhausted people who somehow kept surviving day after day as if something inside them was untouchable by any outside force. He watched carefully, and he came to a conclusion. The ones who survived were not the strongest. They were the ones who had a reason to live. Some kept a photograph of their child in their pocket. Some believed they had to live to finish unfinished work. Some simply wanted to see the person they loved one more time. The reason could be so small that someone else might laugh at it, but to them, it was an entire sky. Frankl quoted a line from Nietzsche that he repeated to himself in the darkest days. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And after he was freed, he spent the rest of his life trying to answer one question: where does meaning come from, and how can an ordinary person find it? His answer was clear. Meaning is not something you invent. It is something you discover. And there are 3 main paths to discover it. The first path is through the work you do. Not just any work. The work you pour your whole heart into. A cook who puts love into every dish for a stranger. A teacher who sees each student as a life they are responsible for. A mother who sees raising her child as a sacred act of creation. When you pour yourself into a specific task, that task stops being work and starts becoming a reason to live. The second path is through love. Not love in the narrow sense of romance. Love in the widest sense of caring. Loving a child, loving a friend, loving a small animal waiting for you every evening. Love. Frankl said that when you truly love someone, you see in them a potential they haven't yet seen in themselves, and by loving them that way, you help them become the best version of who they can be. That is an act filled with profound meaning. The third path, and the hardest one, is through the way you face unavoidable suffering. Frankl was very clear about this. He did not say suffering is good. He did not tell you to go looking for it. But when suffering has already arrived, and you cannot change it, you still have a choice. You can choose to collapse. Or you can choose to stand up with a dignity that no one, not even fate itself, can take away. There is a story in the book that I have never forgotten. A young woman came to Frankl after losing her only son. She didn't know how to go on living. Frankl asked her a simple question. If your son were still alive and he saw you collapsing, what would he want? The mother was quiet for a long time and then broke into tears. She realized her son would want her to keep living, to be strong, to carry his love further than his own short life had allowed. And from that moment, she knew what to do. This is what Frankl wanted all of us to understand. Suffering in itself has no meaning, but the way you carry suffering does. And the meaning you assign to it is what decides whether you will shatter or whether you will grow. If today you feel empty, ask yourself this. Not the question of what you need to be happy. The question of what you need for your life to feel worth living. Your answer does not need to be grand. It might be a younger sibling you want to raise well, a project you believe must be completed, an elderly mother you want to sit beside a little longer, a book you know you must write. No one can tell you what your reason is, but Frankl said you have a duty to go find it. Because if you don't, you will be swept along by a life defined by someone else, and one day you will wake up wondering why none of your achievements have made your heart peaceful. The first step is stillness. Turn off the noise around you for one afternoon. Sit with yourself and ask, what, if it disappeared from my life, would make me no longer recognize myself? That answer is where your meaning is hiding. The second step is to stop waiting. Frankl said it clearly. You are not the one asking life for meaning. Life is asking you, and you can only answer through action, through what you do today, through how you treat others today, through waking up a little earlier to begin the thing you have been putting off for years. The third step is to choose your attitude. Even when everything around you is ugly, you still have one thing: how you stand in front of it. You can stand with your head down, or you can stand upright. And that uprightness, even if no one sees it, is enough to make you untouchable from the inside. Man's Search for Meaning is not a book that gives you comfort. It is a book that gives you the truth. And that truth might be the thing that has been walking behind you your whole life, waiting to be noticed. Your life is not a problem to be solved. It is a question waiting for your answer. And that answer is not out there. It lies in what you dare to live for, even when no one claps, no one sees, and no one knows who you are. Ask yourself tonight one simple question. If life has a reason waiting for me to live for, what is that reason? When you can answer that, even if the answer is still blurred, you have stepped into a new life. A life that from now on, you are the one writing.